She's a pretty half-blood, dark hair, long hair. And what's up? People looking in the streets now. The attitude is there, not scared uptown, but beware, she's gonna put her foot down. She looks you in the eye, she doesn't know what she's got to do. Walks around, looking for the door now. I got a clear view of what I want and how to, in what mood, but I'm not the only boss here. She's a pretty half-blood, dark eyes, long hair. What's up? People looking in the streets now. The attitude is there, not scared uptown, but beware, she's gonna put her foot down.
Today I have a car in that's already had 2 attempted repairs. It's a 1.2 litre Skoda Fabia and it has a water temperature sensor fault and a misfire. This is the in-depth version where I take you through the process step by step. However, I will edit out a shorter version, but you really must stay and watch the outtakes at the end. This is a Skoda Fabia 1.2 THP. The AA diagnosed it with a temperature sensor issue. Went into a local garage, they changed it, this little part here, and it's still got the issues, which is why it's here. Time to break out the diagnostics. Let's see what we've got. So, diagnostics. Look for Skoda. Accept. There we go. Automatic selection. Read the VIN. Just thinking about it. There we go. Okay. Hatchback. And we are looking for BZG. Auto scan. Okay, I'm just going to have a quick look at the report. Okay, so we've got the active static engine coolant temperature sensor, and we've also got passive sporadic misfire on cylinder 2. But when I was driving it, it is way more than sporadic, it's pretty constant. I've got passive sporadic load signal and engine control unit, that'll be the misfire. I've got some air conditioning faults, but I'm not really that interested in those ones. And I've got one for the radio, but I'm not really interested in that either. These are the ones we need to look at, the engine coolant temperature sensor and the misfire. The 3 codes are 16502, 17766 and 16686. Now interestingly, my temperature sensor and my ignition circuit both say they've got a short circuit to ground, so we may be chasing an earth. Time to open the bonnet. This little 1.2 3-cylinder engine has 2 faults which could be connected. With the sensor having been replaced already, I'm just going to check through the wiring. Okay, so the first thing I'm going to check is this bolt here. It looks like it's got a bit of corrosion on it. So check this earth. This is where the coil packs are kept. And then this wire here, this one goes to the temperature sensor. It kind of looks like somebody's already been in it. Whilst I'm cleaning up the earth, I'm also going to move everything round. As my issue's on number 2, I'm going to move the plug to cylinder 1 and I'm going to move the coil pack to cylinder 3. By moving them around, it'll tell me whether or not it's a component issue or a wiring issue. If the fault's moved, it's a component issue, but if it stayed exactly the same, it'll be the wiring.
It's a smart move to mark them as she removes them, ensuring she knows where they originated. With a well thought out plan in hand, Tammy now needs to remove the plug from the cam sensor to make the wiring more manageable. This simple step prevents the wiring loom from getting in the way. Next, she can carefully extract the coil packs from the cylinders. These coil packs play a critical role in delivering an electrical charge to the spark plugs, but they tend to wear out around the 60,000 mile mark on these engines. With those components out of the way, she can swiftly remove the spark plugs from cylinders 1 and 2. Reinstalling them with the precision of a pro takes just a minute or two. The coil packs are interchangeable, provided you've mastered the art of dealing with Volkswagen's locking clips. They can be repositioned effortlessly. As Tammy takes out the earth wire, she uncovers some corrosion beneath the bolt. Fortunately, this is a minor issue that can be easily resolved with a quick clean before reattaching it. Before securing them back into the wiring harness and reconnecting them to the spark plugs, a gentle tap on the top ensures they're securely seated. Now, it's time to address the earth wire. Clean it up before bolting it back in place. This meticulous process helps ensure the engine continues to run smoothly. Hey Tammy, don't forget the cam sensor plug, otherwise the car won't start.
With that all swapped round, what I need to do is clear the fault codes, start the engine, and then rerun the diagnostics to see whether the fault codes have moved or whether they've cleared entirely. That has cleared the fault codes in the engine. I now need to turn the ignition off, turn the engine on, and let it run for 30 seconds before running the diagnostics again. Okay, well the Misfire's still there, so let's just go see whether it's moved to a different place. I'm just going to go into the engine, trouble codes. Okay, so now we only have the engine coolant temperature sensor. We don't actually have anything for the Misfire. That's rather interesting. I just quickly reran the same test and the fault code's back, so we've definitely got a Misfire on cylinder. It's not the plug and it's not the coil pack. So it's wiring. One last test I can do is to swap out an injector. I couldn't do this the first time because it was a 3-cylinder engine.
Well folks, it's time to swap out these injectors. They're hanging out at the back of the engine, which is mighty convenient. To kick things off, say goodbye to the vacuum pipe. Then it's a two-step dance with those Torx retaining screws. And hey, presto, a quick lever swiftly pops out the whole injection rail. Before we venture any further, you gotta unplug those electrical connectors. And because Volkswagen make the worst clips of any car maker, be careful. If they don't break, then we're good. After that, it's time to give those two injector retaining clips a gentle nudge and set them free. It's all part of the injector misadventure. I've got a nifty trick for you to smoothly remove those injectors without causing any harm. Grab yourself a trusty screwdriver and gently slide it under the plastic plug. Apply just a smidge of pressure, and then, with a gentle push on the injector toward the screwdriver, you'll create a perfectly balanced force that pops those injectors out like magic. Now, Tammy's all set to perform a swift injector swap between numbers 1 and 2. Putting them back is just as easy, folks. Simply slide the injectors in. Reattach those retaining clips. Gently tap the injector rail back into its groove and secure it with the two trusty Torx bolts. But here's the kicker. Tread carefully because these bolts screw right into the plastic manifold. No need to go overboard with the tightening, or you'll be facing a world of hurt. Lastly, don't forget to pop the vacuum pipe back into place. Once that's done, fire up the engine and let's see if our misfire troubles have been sent packing.
That seems much worse. I've swapped the coil packs, I've swapped the plugs, I've swapped the injectors, and we still have exactly the same issue on cylinder 2, so that didn't work. So now it's time to look at the wiring. I'm going to start my electrical testing. Click on my earth, turn on my voltmeter to resistance ohms, and check the earth, which is the brown wire. Okay, so the next thing I need to do is check our 5-volt supply. So go turn the ignition on. With the ignition turned on, I can check the DC volts, which is the blue wire. Well, that's interesting. It started off at 4 volts and the voltage is just slowly dropping off. What that shows me is that I have a good earth, but I do have a problem with the 5-volt reference signal. What I now need to do is look for any obvious damage in the wiring loom.
Now, it's time to remove the air filter assembly to access the ECU. First, the fresh air pipe is soon dealt with, then it's onto the vacuum pipe. Again. After loosening the pipe clip, a swift, decisive pull will overpower them, releasing the entire unit. Now, it's time to remove the air filter assembly to access the ECU. It's on rubber mounts, so don't worry it looks like a struggle. But squeezing it out through a hole that's too small is a job Tammy has done before.
With the air filter out the way, I can reach the ECU and check the wiring. But here you can see it's got an anti-tamper bar. The best way to remove these anti-tamper bolts is with a disc cutter, and I'll show you what it looks like after I've done it.
Be careful using power tools.
So the important thing with these is that you cut straight through the head and into the thread, because that releases the pressure on it. And then with a pair of pliers, you can grab it, get a good grip and undo it.
With the cage removed, Tammy needs to release the ECU wiring clips before pulling it out.
That's the ECU out. I looked up online and it's pin 64 that I need to test to check for continuity.
The eagle-eyed of you will have noticed it was pin 60 and 74. However, Tammy is going by the pictures and it's the top corner pin, so she won't get it wrong. It's handy these plugs are close together. Tammy manages to slip both ends in one hand, leaving the other free to probe the ends of the wires.
That shows us that I do have an issue with continuity because the meter was all over the place, it didn't go to 0. On most cars, you'll have 2 or 3 plugs that go into the ECU. You'll have one that goes to the car and you'll have one that goes to the engine. I know on this one, this is my piece of loom that's got the issue to my problem plug. I'm going to unclip this length of loom, but I can already see where my problem is. There we go. I can tell the loom's rubbed here, and if I pull it away, you can actually see the green corrosion here. And underneath, I can actually feel a hole. Wow, look at the state of that. It's a wonder it ran at all. I'm going to need to remove these 2 clips and this sheath. Then I'm going to need to cut open the loom to expose all the wires. Once they're all exposed, I'll be able to check to see which ones are damaged and splice in a bit of new wire and cover it with heat shrink. And then when I put it back in, I'm going to route the cable slightly differently so it doesn't rub on the same spot.
It's time to get cutting, splicing, and splitting to remove all the outer covering. Before skillfully wielding a blade to cut through the tightly fitting tape, revealing the inner workings of our wiring loom and its concealed mysteries.
So I've got some damage on this earth wire just here. I've got some damage on this twisted blue and brown wire here, which we know it's blue and brown going to this plug, so it's probably that one. I've also got some really bad damage on this green wire, and then a little bit of damage on this red and yellow wire too. Looks like I'm going to have to cut open 5 wires. I've separated out the bad wires here and taped the rest of the loom back so it's out of my way. Now I just need to cut through where the damage is. fitted the heat shrink before I stripped the wires because it just makes it easier. Now I just need to cut some heat shrink. Hopefully you can see, but these wires inside are black and that's where the water's got in, so I'm going to have to scrape it up a bit to clean it so I can solder it. If you just sandpaper it a bit, it cleans it up nicely. Time to get the soldering iron.
Tammy is using a gas-powered soldering iron to make good these damaged wires, warming the wire first before applying just enough solder to make a good join. You need to apply the solder to the iron, not to the wire, and let it flow. Let it flow. Let it flow.
That's my soldering all done, so now I just need to put the heat shrink on.
With the wiring repairs all soldered, it's time to get the heat shrink cover shrunk. A gentle flame should do the trick, causing the tube to seal tight on the loom.
That's my loom repaired. I am going to just put the ECU back on and check everything works before I tape it all back up. Yes! As you can see, it's running fine.
Finally, Tammy can tape up the loom, protecting the wires from dirt and water.
I've moved the clip from here to stop this happening again.
Clearing the fault codes for a fresh test, Tammy needs to run the engine for 30 seconds or more before rechecking the system. And that's the legend, folks. No fault codes detected.
This little Skoda is all ready to go home. Right, so where am I starting with this? With those all swapped round. Okay, right, ready? You ready? Yeah. With those all swapped round, what I need to do is clear the fault codes. You're still here. It's over. Go home. No? Okay, well, if you're staying, I may as well tell you a little bit about myself. I've got a few YouTube channels. I've got my garage channel where I fix cars. I've got my van life channel where I go around Europe and the UK in my self-converted van, which I did after I started converting Michael Schumacher's old Benetton Formula One bus. I also have my channel where you can follow me around and kind of see the behind the scenes stuff from the filming and see what life is really like living on a converted bus. I am pleased to announce that we are making some kind of feature-length 1-hour films, kind of like Wheeler Dealers meets Ford versus Ferrari, a film where a car actually gets repaired. And that will be showing under the Rusted or Busted title soon. How did I end up here? Well, I was an accountant and then there was COVID. Need I say more? Instead of my usual holidays in Italy, kind of strolling down the Lungomare in Salerno, I went on holiday to Scotland and I rented a Saab convertible, original 1990s. I felt like I needed a giant fur coat and a mobile the size of a brick. After getting back to the office, I decided I needed a change and I came up with the idea of renting, fixing and renting classic cars down in the southwest. And I knew exactly the person to approach because I'd been doing his accounts. So I quit my job and I handed back my lease car. And this is kind of where it gets crazy because I had only ever driven a Toyota Yaris. Driving lesson, Toyota Yaris. First car, Toyota Yaris. First crash, Toyota Yaris. You get the idea. So here I am now with some intensive training from a real life car guru, fixing cars on your screen. Please like and subscribe to any of my channels. Please leave comments and I will aim to get back to you in a couple of days. And look out for the questions and answers in any of the shows. Links are in the description below. Now it really is time for you to go.